Captain Marvel is directed by Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck. It stars Brie Larson, Samuel L. Jackson, Ben Mendelsohn, Jude Law, and more. It follows Carol Danvers as she embarks on a journey trying to remember her mysterious past and attempts to bring peace between two warring factions.
So we're just going to obviously jump straight into this.
Although, you know, it is worth bearing in mind we are white, middle-class men, so fuck you, Brie Larson.
Probably shouldn't be reviewing it, but it's life, isn't it? But on that topic, some people are going to hate this and some people are going to love this. It definitely is a feminist, it does have a feminist agenda, this film. And like I said, if you like it, then great. If you don't, then whatever. But
and just for anyone that thinks, oh well, they don't like it, or they do like it, or they don't like it because it's a woman, or anything like that, that's not what we're talking about with this. The fact that it's a film about woman power doesn't have any reflection on why we do or don't dislike the movie at all. I've got no issue with the fact that she's a woman. We'll actually get into what my issues are momentarily.
Yeah, but as I was going to say, it has a female agenda to a feminist agenda to it. Films can have that. Look at Black Panther, that had a very political tone about it, about racism and poverty, and that did great in what it did, mainly because that wasn't the main focus of the film.
Yeah.
That was just a side part to it, as well as developing characters that we now care about and love, which for me is a big problem with this film.
Yeah.
I personally can't get behind the main character, Carol Danvers, mainly because she's built up as too strong. And we've seen people like Captain America and we've seen people like Thor who are strong characters, but they've also got flaws. And from what I saw in this, she doesn't seem to have any apparent flaws, and it seems okay with her. And
she's boring. That for me is the best way to put it. She is very boring. I've always had a massive issue with Superman in the comics and things like that, or in like short stories that they've done or animated films. Because I always just think he's always so capable of overcoming every obstacle with ease, and I feel like this is exactly the same for her.
She's too powerful for this.
Yeah.
An issue for me was that how arrogant she was.
Yeah.
And you know, mentioning arrogance, it doesn't really work for her, because Captain America, he's great because of his character. Like, yeah, his loyalty, his willingness to do what is right. Despite him being a total badass, it works for him because we care about the fact that he's got these flaws.
Yeah.
Captain Marvel or Carol Danvers herself doesn't have these redeeming factors about herself. She just every single scene she walks in there, and whether she's just lost someone or she's in a completely new environment or she's seen something that she's never seen before, she had the same stoic look on her face. And I imagine that is a character input from Brie Larson herself, I imagine. Or
yeah, I mean, to me the best comparison currently in the MCU would be Iron Man. So Tony Stark obviously is a very arrogant character. It's part of his character. I think it works really well for him though, because he has a lot of redeemable qualities to him. So he's arrogant because it's a shield. That's the whole point of his arrogance half the time, especially as we're now getting into this stage of the MCU. That's his way of putting the wall up almost to, you know, emotionally defend himself. And, you know, maybe that is what she's doing, but if it wasn't
apparent.
It's not clear
in any sense. But I think we've probably bashed about her just a little bit too much. So let's revert back to the rest of the film.
Well, just quickly, just before we sign off from doing that, one thing I would like to make apparent is, for anyone which thinks, oh well, it's just because she's a woman or because it's a female lead, that's why I dislike it. That's not true. I actually really love Wonder Woman, the film that came out that DC put out. What was it, last year before?
2 years, I think it's 2 years ago.
2 years ago. I actually thought that was great, and that to me is exactly how you can do. You know, she's a very
feminist.
She's a very powerful character in the lore, in the comic books, in any kind of show that you see her in, and that's fine. But they do it so well in that because she's not invulnerable from the start.
Yeah, like that scene when she comes out in No Man's Land, and it's like it's great, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
But that's Wonder Woman, and we're here to talk about Captain Marvel. So let's do that, shall we? story itself, kind of cliche, kind of boring. Nothing really to grab you there. There's a lot of bland CGI being thrown around, which I didn't really catch my attention. It's just at this stage, it's just generic for any film to have that sort of CGI level to it.
Yeah, so the CGI kind of, I have two takes on it. The de-aging CGI for Samuel L. Jackson's character
is incredible.
What's Phil Coulson's actor's name?
I can't remember the actor's name.
But the guy that plays Phil Coulson, it's literally, you can't tell.
Coulson was a little bit off. He was a bit shiny, I think. But
yeah,
he wasn't in the film that much.
But especially with Samuel L. Jackson, it is literally
incredible.
Seamless.
It's absolutely seamless. You can compare that to a film from the 90s with him, and it would look exactly the same. Yeah, it's pretty mad.
But then on the flip side of that, when it was in certain fight sequences, I thought it looked really cheap. Especially when she kind of goes Super Saiyan.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it looks cheap. I just think it's we've seen this before. Like
I don't know. I just don't think it looked good. Like when she got there's parts of when she does that, when she gets full powered, and the bit when she's not full on glowing and you kind of can still make out her face and she's not wearing the mask and her hair's kind of a bit wavy. I'm like, that looks quite good. But when she's like flying off into space, when she confronts Ronan, I thought it looked so cheap. I really didn't like it. It really took me out of it.
Yeah, I wouldn't say, like I said, I wouldn't say it was cheap. It looks cheap. I would just think it's kind of just generic. At this point, I've seen these sort of special effects in Star Wars films, in DC films, in any sci-fi film which has come out in the past 10 years. This is nothing groundbreaking, but I suppose that's what you get when you're at this point at stage in CGI.
I think it really does suffer from when I was at university. My film lecturer the one thing I always remember him saying to me was, don't put a soundtrack in your film which is better than your movie, because that's going to be what becomes memorable. And I feel like that's almost what this film did, because one of the really good points of it probably was the soundtrack, but I think that's because it literally just relied on that 90s nostalgia soundtrack feel.
A lot of 90s music is pretty good, so
yeah,
I suppose you're right actually. Another take on it is, it's hard to compare this with some of the other films in the Marvel universe because it is an origin story.
Yeah.
So it's hard. You can't compare this with Civil War or Thor Ragnarok because we've had 3 films developed Thor. This is the first film, and even looking at it like that and comparing it to the other origin stories, I still find that this is the weakest of the bunch.
Yes.
Thor 1 is not necessarily one of the better Marvel films, but at least Thor has an arc there.
Yeah.
At least he's in danger in points and he learns something, and he's a strong character now, and he was back then. But
that's it. So you look at Thor's a god, right? And that's the whole premise around it. So he's supposed to be a very, very strong character. And when you see him in Thor 1, he is strong. But if you take Thor 1 to Thor Ragnarok and you look at the difference, you can see there is a clear arc of how he's developed. It feels very much like Captain Marvel is that DC version of, oh, we're really far behind with the development on it, let's just chuck her in at full power, ready for Endgame.
But also, there was a lot of speculation that she's going to be the strongest Avenger or the strongest one. She is strong, but nothing pulled me out to go, she is the strongest Avenger. A lot of the stuff that she does, Iron Man could probably do.
Yeah, true.
I'm kind of sorry. No, go on. I'm kind of glad that she didn't seem that strong. I don't mind it if she does end up being the strongest Avenger. But once we see some development, Thor for example, look at him now. Look at him in Infinity War. The way he is in that is nothing compared to the first. But then character development.
Do you think it's because she doesn't seem that strong, or do you think it's more because, and this is definitely the vibe I got, the villains in the film did not seem like perceivable threats to her?
Yeah, I mean, it's when the writing. She's written not to lose. So
yeah,
I know that's pretty cliche with every film. The heroes aren't written to lose, but it felt like she was just in the fighting. There's no threat to her.
Black Panther's a really good example. So you think the second fight that he has with Killmonger to take back Wakanda essentially. You know deep down that he's gonna win, but when you're watching it, you're still on the edge of your seat thinking, oh my god, this literally,
because he lost last time.
Yeah, this could be this is so close.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like I never felt that with her. There's a couple of times in the fight scene she gets thrown against the wall, she just smiles, gets up, and then boom, like shoots out beams or blasts and knocks them down. And I just felt that at no point did I feel that she was threatened.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's what they were going for, but for me, it didn't sit well. I like my characters with a definite. I like strong characters, but I like part of making a strong character is having flaws with that character.
Yeah.
You can't have a great character who's great all the time because they end up boring, like James said about Superman. That's one of the reasons why a lot of his films go down as duds. Despite us saying all this negative stuff, there are some good things about it. It's Samuel Jackson is brilliant in this role, as we've seen him before.
Yeah.
He looks great young.
Yeah.
And he's got a lot more spirit than the Nick Fury that we know now, because obviously he's younger and this is the first time seeing something. That he absolutely nailed that. That was brilliant.
Yep.
The cat was great in it, in the few scenes that it was in.
I personally as well, I quite enjoyed the Skrull storyline. I think like if it was fleshed out a little bit more, I would have liked it even more.
We've been very negative about this film actually, thinking about it. But it's not actually bad. It's not a bad film.
It's alright. It's just alright.
It's meh. It's very meh. It's the most meh Marvel film.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I'm gonna give it an illegal download.
I would give it exactly the same as that.
Yeah.
Like it's just, for me, it's a 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
If I have to put a rating.
Like I would say, I would advise people probably like, yeah, you see it, but I wouldn't pay to see it.
Yeah, it's not something which I thought this would build up to something which you may see in Endgame, but you could probably go into Endgame and without seeing this film and be fine with it. Which I think a lot of people may do, considering that Endgame comes out next month.
Yeah, I don't think it really added. It wasn't really needed. This film. That's probably the best thing I can say.
Yeah, it's almost just like Marvel were upset because DC got Wonder Woman out.
Yeah,
a female-led superhero film before they did. So they quick respond back with this. And the thing is, Brie Larson is probably the perfect choice to play her.
Yeah,
it's just the right. There's a deep issue with the writing.
Yes,
for me.
Yeah, maybe even the directing. To be honest, with the way that
it's just generic.
They've made her portray the character.
It's just generic. So the film was fine. If you're a massive Marvel fan, you've probably already seen it. So, but I recommend a legal download.
And if you guys have seen it, let us know what you thought down in the comments. We'd love to hear your views on it. Other than that, if you'd like, subscribe and click the bell icon for us, guys, that'd be absolutely fantastic.
Cool, thank you very much. Take it easy.